Good morning, everyone. Good morning and good afternoon and good evening, whenever you're watching this. If you catch the replay, hashtag replay and let me know. I'm just looking in the group. Great, I've got it opened. So today is about how to pivot in business with grace. And so what I would love is for you, if you're watching this, that you share. It's funny because it's like looking in the mirror for the first time, seeing myself on camera, is for you to share if you are in business for yourself and you've had the experience of going, I've changed my mind, I want to change direction, I'm going to change my focus or my need, who I'm here to serve, and you have struggled with that, you've questioned that, you've wondered what you should do. And so let me know in the group under the video how your experience has been there. So I get this question all of the time. So in my coaching programs, especially because I love working with people for longer periods of time, because over that period of time we build rapport and intimacy and connection, that the deeper that connection is, the more I can serve, and the more that is the more the client, the student, allows that relationship to be reciprocal, and allows us to really develop our experience and the transformation and what is available through that experience. And so what I wanted to touch on is what happens when you go through that healing experience, and there is lots that changes over a 6 or 12 month period of working together. And you can come into a program and have an idea of who you are, who you're here to serve, your purpose, your medicine. And then as you grow and evolve through the journey of the program or life, you can have the experience of like, oh my gosh, I don't feel aligned anymore with this version of me, or these group of programs, or this way I've been showing up. I don't feel aligned with that anymore. And so what I really want to do is shift my focus. But often entrepreneurs and healers and light workers and coaches and mentors get stuck in the overthinking when this happens. And so there's lots of mixed messages around this. It's like, well, this is a very kind of patriarchal way of thinking, and it's how I grew up. It's like my dad would say to me, if you start something, you have to finish it. So I started studying a business communication degree. Now I wanted to study something else, but he convinced me that was long story, I won't go into that. That's a whole another story. So I was halfway through, realized it wasn't really what I wanted to do. It wasn't going to support me on the path of this magical being that I was. But he would not buy into my story of that I'm not passionate about this and this is what I want to do. And the conversations that ensued from that were, you must finish what you start. Now, I recognize that there's some value in that experience. There's some value in being like following through and actually embracing our inner masculine to stay focused and move the needle forward and to follow through. However, if the follow through is actually not aligned with your higher self, with your highest good, and with your purpose, then no, you do not have to follow through. You do not have to keep going and doing that. What I notice is that over the last 20 years, I've had to dismantle all of the conditioning around this piece so that I could actually live on purpose. We're not and this is a big and deep and conversation that I'm really, really passionate about around. Most of us don't start our lives with the guidance and the support to be our authentic self, to pursue what it is that we're here to pursue, to follow our passions, to know ourselves so deeply, and to pursue our passions and purpose relentlessly. We're not taught that. And so we are conditioned to be who society wants us to be, who our parents want us to be, who other people want us to be. And so we go through life doing that. And then we come to a point where we go, okay, no, I'm going to do this. I've got medicine on my heart. I'm going to share this with the world. Now, you might have a corporate job. You might be working for somebody else. You might be doing that, but you can bring your medicine. You can bring your gifts into that experience. You don't have to be an entrepreneur. Not everybody is wired to be an entrepreneur, but it's the full acknowledgement and the full acceptance and the leaning into our authentic self, who we are and how we are, and it being our fullest expression. That's the biggest thing, being our fullest expression. And let me just have a look. Hi, Jen. Oops. And so as we go through the deconditioning process, as we go through the dismantling of all of those stories and those beliefs, and have this devotion to who we are, who we truly are, then we're in the experience of, okay, this is what I'm going to do. This is the medicine I'm here to serve, as in my soul medicine that I'm here to serve. And this is what and how I want to do it and who I want to serve. And this feels clear to me from this perspective, from who I am now. And then as we go through the path and we continue the deconditioning process and we continue deepening our connection with ourselves and knowing ourselves more deeply, we have the experience of, oh my gosh, it's changing. It keeps evolving. I keep evolving. Of course it does, because we are continuously evolving. And so in that experience, the key to doing that gracefully, the key to pivoting and moving with your soul's guidance, the key is for you to share the experience, is to openly share and be vulnerable about the experience of shifting. Now, we have been told, there's a story around that's going to affect our authority, we're going to receive judgment from others about changing our mind about things. And the thing is that probably not as much as the self-judgment that we give ourselves, through this experience based on our conditioning. So if we are to soften and we are able to give ourselves compassion and we're able to share vulnerably, in a beautiful way, from a grounded way, from an empowered voice, if we're able to do that, we take our tribe, our audience, on the ride with us. The challenge happens when we stonewall our audience when we're going through a transformation, when we're in the chrysalis and we're being turned to mush and we don't know who we are or what we're here to do, and we're questioning everything. And then we stonewall everyone in our audience outside of our, and we might even do it to people in our inner circles too. When we stonewall them, they don't know what's going on. Then we pop out of the chrysalis and we have this whole new perspective with this whole new version of ourselves. And then we actually don't know how to communicate with our audience anymore, because we're like, oh, now I'm here. And then we get in a situation where we're stuck and we don't know how to connect with them. And then eventually we do, and we just hope that they just notice that there's this new version of us and how we're showing up, and, hope they kind of catch on. Now, no judgment in this. I have done this myself multiple times because, I had a pattern of creating I stonewalled everyone and everything when I go through that process. I had a whole bunch of justification around it, and it is what it is, and that's the way I used to do it. And partly conditioning, partly my blueprint, all that kind of stuff. And then I learned this piece about intimacy and connection with my audience. Now, not everybody has the desire to share online, but part of building a brand online, part of using this incredible platform to build a business and to connect with people that aren't necessarily in your local community or even in your country, we have this beautiful platform. And in order to use this platform, there is a level of intimacy and connection that we have to create that goes beyond what it's like in person. Because when I'm in person with somebody, they get it straight away. But I've had to develop the skills and the confidence to be able to do it through the platforms, through online, because there's that barrier there. And so there has the key, the piece that I wanted to land today is about this intimacy and connection and vulnerability with our audience, to take them on the ride with us so that they can witness, and they can be taken, they're then invited into our world, which is the steps that we take to invite people into our programs. So we're inviting them into our heart and into our experience to share what it is that's happening for us. And it allows them to be able to see, sense, feel, know that this is a journey that they want to take. And so the being able to pivot with grace is where you actually have self-compassion for yourself through the process, and that you are willing to just create little windows in the chrysalis, create little windows for them, for your audience to see what is going on for you. Now, you don't have to go into the nitty-gritty painful places. It's I'm going through a massive shift. I'm going through another death and rebirth process. There are beautiful ways for you to share and communicate that is happening. Now, the number of metamorphoses, the number of pivots that I have made in just 4.5 short years of coaching. If I went into the self-judgment piece, I would be like, oh my gosh, that's just embarrassing. And that experience of, some of you might relate, where you've tried different multi-level marketing businesses or different ways of making money, and then you do that and then it doesn't feel aligned anymore, and you try another one and you try another one, and then you start to get this little story like, oh my gosh, what are people going to think if I am now pitching another thing that's the next best thing? The thing is that, we, especially if we are on this path of evolution and ascension, especially if we are devoted souls who are here to live in integrity, to shed all of that conditioning. If you are someone who's doing that, you can't align with things that don't match your value system. So when we try things, we try them so that we can have an experience of it, and then we put it through our filter system and recognize, okay, this no longer aligns for me. I'm going to do something else. And we have to let go of this idea that we have to be perfect and we have to get it right the first time. We have to accept and acknowledge and embrace that we are here to fall our way forward, to make mistakes, to have experiences that aren't in our highest good, that aren't in our alignment, so that we can discover that, so that we have the insights, so that we can go, actually, I don't want to do that. That really sucked. Now I know what to look for. I can discern what to look for, and now I can pick something even more aligned. And then you have the next experience, and the next experience is even more aligned, but it's still not, bang on. And then you might try another one. So any successful person, any very successful person that's thriving in their world, in their life, every success book, every wealth consciousness book has references the fact that they have tried they've tried a million different things. Well, many different things, and then learned and cultivated all of the experiences along the way to then align with the thing that is things and multiple things that are their soul's greatest expression. And so, and gives them everything that they want to experience. And so let this be permission for you to shift if you want to shift, to pivot if you want to pivot, and know that you can actually say to people, yeah, that thing that I did before, that niche that I spoke into before, those clients that I served before were in alignment for me. I was deeply passionate about that. When I very first started coaching, I was doing parent and family coaching, and I was so good at it. And I was, my absolute drive, like it would crack me open when someone would ask me what I was doing and why I was doing it. I was so devoted to it. I was on an absolute mission to create major shifts within families everywhere, all around the world, so that they did the healing. I was conscious parenting, so they did the healing within themselves, so that then their children had the experience of being able to grow up and acknowledge, and the parents acknowledge, because of their healing that they'd done, acknowledge their own blueprint and be their fullest expression. It's like all these little star seeds and amazing souls that are coming through, and supporting the families to know and understand who they were guiding and raising, and then making a huge impact. I wanted to make a huge impact on the lives of those children, so that we didn't have so many issues of depression and anxiety and drug abuse and all of those things, because these happen because these little souls feel so disconnected from their authentic self. And so that was my absolute everything. I had Facebook groups and programs, and I invested everything into it. And then one day, and I did it solidly for 2 years. And then one day, and I ran workshops and everything, retreats, everything. And then one day, I got a download to run a different kind of program. And I was like, oh, that's how do I fit that in with parenting? And what do you mean? And then the pivot started to happen, and it was not gracious for me internally, especially. It was a really, really stressful experience, because I was like, how can I let go of everything I've created, the blood, sweat, and tears that had gone into the websites and the landing pages and the just everything, and the customer base, the audience that I had built, and how it was actually really challenging. It was a huge growth experience for me to do that, and then to let all that go. And I entered into a business mastermind, and I was really resistant. I was like, no, I'm going to resist this. I'm just going to keep going with the parenting. And then I went into this business mastermind. I got 3 months in the mastermind, or a 12-month mastermind. And she said to me, what are you resisting? And then I started crying, and then shared and I had to just burn, and literally it was like burn everything to the ground. Now, I didn't have to do that. I could have pivoted gracefully, which I have done future times. So between that next version of me and now this version of me, I didn't burn it all down. I was able to pivot graciously and then take my audience on the ride with me, who then came on the ride with me. But that experience of burning that first one down had to happen to support me to really let go. Hi, hello, Heidi. Juicy and delicious things, yes. And so the invitation here is to be brutally honest with yourself. Be brutally honest with yourself. Most of the time, like not most of the time, a lot of the time, we are gaslighting ourselves through these experiences of knowing recognizing what our soul is nudging us to do and step into, and then the smaller version of us who's going, who are you to, and no, you've already done all of this and you don't know enough, and we're constantly having that battle within ourselves. So the invitation is to really listen to that higher version of you, that highest version of you, and give her some airtime, give her some space to come through you and start to play in that. You don't have to do anything, you don't have to take any action, but if you give her some airtime and do some journaling about it and see what unfolds, and this is exactly what I have done over the last kind of few months, and giving her some airtime. And so there's no actual pressure, there's just this playful energy of what would I do if there was no self-judgment? What would I do if I didn't worry about what other people thought? How would I show up? What is wanting to be birthed through me? And giving myself permission that I don't actually have to do any of it, but I want to be radically honest and truthful with myself and really give my higher self the space and give my higher self the time to play in it and see what happens. And then I did that. And then I played with, okay, what are all the stories that are coming up now in this experience? Now, all the stories that are coming up are that this feels really audacious. This feels like, am I really qualified for this? Now, this is the thing. It's coming from our channel. It's coming from our higher self, our soul family, and from source. So it's, of course, it feels like a stretch because it's the highest version of us. And so the smaller self is going to remind you of, past experiences and, the limitations of the human aspect of us. And then it is our responsibility, it is our job, our responsibility to do what it takes to lean into that highest version of our voice, that highest self, that one that is connected with source, the one that knows where we're going. And then we support ourselves with mentors, with programs, with beautiful communities that support us to let go of that smaller self. And when we're in communities that support us to let go of that smaller self, we can edge gracefully to that highest version. So it doesn't, I love quantum leaps, and I do make quantum leaps, and I do support people with quantum leaps. And there's also space for this beautiful slow burn of letting go of the smaller self so that you can step fully into that highest expression. So if you have a little nudge, if you have a voice that's happening right now for you, or that that mine was going on so all through my parent coaching, and then the next iteration of doing business and strategy kind of coaching in business, the voice that was coming through was around feminine leadership and around, embodying the divine union within, the divine feminine and masculine within. And I was like, negative ghost rider. I'm not going there. It just feels too big and there are, I just didn't feel like I had what it took to be able to do that. And of course, I'm so devoted to my experience. I'm so devoted to my evolution and ascension. If I don't force myself, if I don't create pressure for myself, if I just play and just not take it so seriously, if I just play in just the next little piece, and like a child, they don't look too far into the future. It's just like this now moment. This is what I want to do in this now moment. And so if I just stay in this now moment, and what excites me, what drives me, what expands me, and what is calling me, what is actually calling me forward. And then recognizing where my smaller self is saying things like, this is comfortable, this is easy, this is what people want, or whatever the stories are, and then just going and no resistance, just like, I hear you, I make space for this, and I can see what's happening here, and I'm very devoted to listening to my channel. I'm very devoted to going with that call. And so to pivot with grace includes and involves self-compassion, and it includes creating the space for you to play in what is coming through for you, and journaling and having conversations with people who are in your community and in your circle, who are vying for your highest expression, not the ones who are going to say, no, you're not qualified for that, or why would you do that? The ones who will call you forward, who can hold you in that highest expression. And then what you do is you create a communication with your circle. You share posts, you share videos, you share emails in your email sequences that bring them into your heart, and share with them what is happening for you. And in a empowered way, in a gracious way, where you share that you are going through a rebirth experience, and you know that on the other side of that is rainbows and butterflies. You know that on the other side of it is liberation. And while you're in it, it's really tricky. And people know that. Anyone who's on this path of evolution and ascension knows that it's actually really awful. When you are in the liminal space, it feels really awful. And when you resist it. But when you are able to go with it, when you're able to surrender and allow yourself to be in it, it really changes the experience. And that's what I've been devoted to this year. Every single death and rebirth that I've been through has been this horrendous experience of stretch and discomfort and dissolving and all of that. And then I come out the other side and I'm like, oh my gosh, thank God that's over, and please let me not have to do that again. I was in such avoidance to the intensity of that feeling lost space. And then the beginning of this year, and part of this divine union journey that I've been on, of the inner feminine and masculine dance and bringing myself home completely, has been to allow myself and surrender into this journey of expansion. And so that has meant that when I'm in that death and rebirth process, I stop resisting, and I actually feel emotional as I say it. I stop the resistance, and I say to myself, and I soothe myself, and I say, I won't float here forever. Like this, I will eventually land. And I just remind myself that I'm held by God, that I've got this, that I've done this over and over again, and that I know that there's a dissolving happening, and that when I land, there's going to be all the clarity, and there's going to be the groundedness, and there's going to be the next level expression of me. And so in that surrender and in that divine, really divine experience, I have let go of the suffering and the sensation of how awful it is when I'm in it. And part of that has been being able to acknowledge that I'm supported and held, that I'm not alone. And that's part of this union piece that I'm talking about, that I'm so excited about, that I've been on this, that I've been, going on this deep journey. And so the invitation for you is to, I've given you lots through this whole transmission, and then to wrap it up is that know that everything is divinely orchestrated. Everything is designed for you. It is happening for you and your greatest good. And even at the time when it feels bad and it just doesn't seem right, it just always is in the end. It always has a purpose. And so if you were to listen to the call, if you were to give some space to that version of you that wants to come through, and you didn't have to share it with anybody, you were just being radically honest with yourself, what would that be? What direction would you go in? What, how would you show up? Who would you serve? And what would you be doing? And journal about that. And then if you want support with this kind of thing, to be held, have your hand held and guided and supported through an experience like this, you can reach out to me and we can have a conversation. I've got multiple beautiful offerings ranging from all different prices, investments. And so you can reach out to me and we can just find the one that supports you the most. I am unfolding a beautiful experience that's going to be coming up. It's a free transmission that's going to be like the 23rd of November. I'll be releasing that in this group very soon. And it is to embody all of what I've been talking about over the last few weeks. And in the meantime, reach out to me if you feel the nudge and you would like some support. Have a beautiful day and evening, and let me know underneath the video what you received, what landed for you, what takeaways did you receive from this transmission. I will speak with you all soon. Bye.